Recording in progress.
I'd like to call this meeting to order on today, July 1st, 2024. Will the secretary do our roll call?
Absolutely. Clerk.
With clerk.
Chair Ducali,
Here,
Commissioner Yax,
Here.
Commissioner Byer,
Here.
Commissioner Oglesby,
here.
Commissioner De Leon, or Commissioner Commissioner De Leon. And also in attendance, Town Clerk Ariel Blackwell.
Okay, so we have a quorum. So will we all look at, shall we all look at the minutes from our last meeting? You have minutes passed out to you. And for June 3rd, 2024.
I'll make the motion that we approve the minutes from June 3rd.
Okay,
Regular meeting, plan commission meeting.
does anyone want to second that?
Second.
Okay, is there discussion on it? There is no discussion. Okay, so, all in favor, or is it? Aye. All right, okay, so we will move to.
Oh, wait, you missed approval of agenda.
Oh, yes, well, didn't we just do that? Didn't we just move to?
That was the minutes.
Oh, okay, it's approval of agenda, I'm sorry, I'll get better at this. Okay, so do we have someone, well, do we have any discussion on it?
No.
No,
So there.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
okay,
I'll second.
okay. All right.
Now discussion.
Now discussion. Okay, do we have discussion on it? No discussion. Okay, so we move to. Okay. Everybody in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Can we move to the special meeting?
Citizens comment.
Citizens' comments. Are there any citizens or maybe we'll need to make comments? Or,
And none on Zoom,
oh,
none on Zoom either.
yes, okay, so is there any discussion on that? No, shall we make a move to?
You don't have
We don't
to.
do that. And on reports also, there are no additional reports. So we will go to the,
Well, I'll just give one quick report that, today they cut the, ribbon for, it's called the Safe Routes to School project. And it's gonna be 2 phases, but you're gonna start seeing some construction happening, starting in the Baca, it's like a little U-shaped drop off. And then we're gonna start putting, a paved trail across the Baca into the town on track 1, right along the border, and it's gonna go straight to the school.
Does it pop up right before the school on the right?
You saw it.
The vehicles
Yeah,
there.
and they're starting on both sides, I don't know exactly how it's all
I had to
gonna go.
walk that a lot.
Yeah, but it's gonna be like a nice, I don't know if it's like a asphalt trail.
wow,
But we gave approval for this multiple years ago, and now all of a sudden it's coming into fruition.
So the kids can ride their bike.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
bikes, it's ADA approved, I mean.
Nice.
I have one thing, is who's gonna maintain it? I think it's the county maintains it. But it's pretty cool, and then I talked to Thomas Cleary today, who is the director of the charter school, and he wants to start the process of this land swap, which really makes it cool because everything below we go to the town, and everything above we go to the charter school, we have to work out details on that, but it's a big movement because of that trail.
may I ask one question?
Yeah.
What was the thing that stopped you last year and the year before?
There was a lot of things. One was, that there was a lot of, controversy by the previous owner who owned that lower
Yeah,
piece. It has to go towards, educational purposes, and so you have to get permission because it's a deed restriction. So then if we said, okay, well, the upper land will be for educational purposes, it'll cross over. So there's just like little details, but also it was the way that it was presented. Now there's this trail going in and it didn't include the trail. It was just like a bunch of controversy.
Yeah,
Now, it wasn't last year, it was like 2 or 3 years ago. And, the different director,
yes,
Elaine was against it because there's a big plan done on track 1.
yes.
It's now kind of null and void. I spent $120,000 on that plan, so. Which is still, I gotta find it, but there's still, that plan is still really cool, there's some inventory. and everything. So, anyway.
Okay, anything else on reports? Okay, let's go move down to approval of the minutes. Regular meeting from May 6th, June 3rd, right?
We approved our June 3rd minutes.
And missionary, United Second, no. Oh, okay. Cities and comments reports, we have new business. So we have an application for prefab modular Crestone Charter School and an application for a greenhouse at the Crestone Charter School. Is there a representative here?
You know, they just dropped it off today.
Okay, so how do we deal with that? How do we approve that?
They sent along that Ariel gave us both applications
There it is, yeah.
for the building permits. And then it looks like, they've also submitted their site maps and, their building plans. And so it looks like the prefab modular is gonna serve as an office space. And they got their setbacks marked for it as 30 feet all the way around. And from their site map, it looks like it's gonna go on the east side of the charter school, kind of over by where like the panels are and they park the vans.
Oh, yeah,
You see that?
I think it's there.
yeah.
Is it there already?
There's a shed there? I don't know.
I see like the long like trailer.
So that was for the Living Wisdom build. I guess they brought in an office for them. Cause that got moved up to like the Living Wisdom build site.
I just seen yesterday, I drove by.
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't really know.
they definitely. Things on Kennedy.
So have you looked through all of this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking through it just now, but
Oh,
just from what I can see through their plans. It looks like that they're just trying to expand their office space.
right.
It looks like they'll have restrooms, so. You know, they'll have to go through the whole rigmarole with. Sewers and waters and stuff, but. I mean, from what I can see, they have a 30-foot setback all the way around it.
Uh-huh.
It seems a. I mean, once everybody's had a chance to look at it, I would make a motion to recommend. Approving, isn't that how that works? We just recommend to approve it to the board?
One question I had was what fee to charge? Because they're currently in the community services zoning.
Okay.
The only thing that I have a fee schedule for is for residential and commercial.
Okay,
So I don't have any clarity or the direction on how to move about in other zoning areas.
okay,
Is it just a regular building permit?
The fee chart doesn't say specifically what the fee is for that type of zoning, community services and recreation, the other ones are all listed at like commercial 200. Or residential, you just need, we're residential, so you just need it. listed in our fee schedule, how much to charge for those permits.
Residential is like 80, is that right? And then commercial is 200. Can we make a decision on that here, or do we have to move?
I think
that
we
to
just
the-
again recommend it.
we just
Recommend it to the
recommend the
board.
fee schedule?
Do you have that sheet of paper for recommendations that you had last time?
She thinking,
You're right.
I mean. I feel like we should cut the charge to a break. Maybe.
either about 80 for single unit residential, 50 per unit. They're all permits and range, additional inspections are 40. I would say 50 per, so it would be 80 and.
Yeah, I think charging them like the same as residential, yeah.
And then maybe we update our fee schedule.
Oh, yeah, I think we should, after today's discussion, so I think we should do that sooner rather than later.
So
So
I'd like
I'm,
to make motions for our recommendations?
Yeah.
Yeah, and do you still, is that first motion still on the table?
oh,
That you
so we
started?
not go through it?
Yeah, I made a motion to recommend to approve
Yeah,
the prefab modular for the charter school.
A second.
Mhm. Now discussion,
so we
do
discussed.
we add the
Any more
$80 into this motion or just make a second motion?
I would maybe make a second motion.
Okay. Anybody want to say it?
And now it's just call the vote.
Okay, everybody in favor? Sorry.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we recommend to the board, an $80 fee for this permit,
For the
For
community.
both
for the
permits?
community center,
Okay.
community, was it?
Services and recreation.
And recreational.
That's,
So-
I would second that motion.
all right, and application for group,
Now discussion.
now do we have discussion? We just have discussion.
This, so, yeah, it's like every time we make a motion, we need the first and the second, and then we have discussion. And we could all, people think it needs to be lower or higher.
Okay, well, do we have discussion on that $80 fee?
Nope, now vote.
No, okay, let's vote. Everybody in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay,
Okay, what about the application for the?
No, next
one. Do we have an application for the?
Yeah.
And
that's done.
The whole
Now we're on-
thing-
Now we're on grades, yeah.
Oh, the prefab mountain thing. Okay, for the greenhouse.
it looks like they're doing one of those grow domes. And from the site map, it looks like they wanna put it in that little. That little green space right in front of the school. It's 22 feet. And they want, and they'll have, says 10 foot 10 inch. The height will be 10 foot 10 inches. And it looks like from this one document we have that for their zoning. There's not actually there's not like a predetermined setback. Like for residential, it looks like it's up to us to recommend if the setback is appropriate.
No. 22% setback from the road.
So they actually don't, yeah, it's, the grow dome itself is gonna be a 22 foot diameter.
Okay,
And on this map, it shows that it's gonna be right there in that
yeah,
green space in front.
yeah.
So at 22 feet. Just thinking about that space, it'll be pretty close to the road, I think,
Yeah,
but their zoning doesn't. The community services and recreational, it seems that they're zoned such that they don't actually have like a predetermined setback.
yeah,
And so if we think the setback is. It seems like we get to kind of determine if their setback is
I think
okay.
it's a really cool spot.
I think it'd be really cool to see it go down right out front.
yeah.
I guess they're gonna, but it's like. somewhat sketchy, maybe try and make it,
Yeah.
go to it and from it
Yeah,
regularly, but
yeah.
maybe they
they're
have
also in
some
the
plans
parking
for that.
area.
If they had their door facing. And it looks like on
Yeah,
this map,
it
it
is.
shows the door is facing the school,
Yeah,
so people aren't gonna have to go walk out into the street to get to it.
no, I know that in a garden, it should be at least 50 feet from a road, but that's not a road down probably has a little bit more protection.
The other thing is they're only probably gonna be able to grow. You know, a certain time in their normal. It's like during the dead of winter, they're not gonna be growing, it's gonna be growing.
No, it's pretty cold in there, it's not big enough. I know the one at Germany is bigger.
It's heated, we use.
Oh, it's heated, well, they'll probably eventually heat it.
But you do wanna let them go doing
I'm sure they're gonna have a pond in
It's
there.
when the kids are in session, so it's,
it, right? For the pond.
oh, really? Oh, I didn't see that. I know that. Oh, you should. Okay. The farm. One of those, let's see.
They're like as big as this table.
Oh, yeah, something big. Well, oh, that's, that's a fish pond inside the great hall. Oh, yeah. Okay, so, the options in the. Okay.
I would make a recommendation, I'll make a motion, I'll make the recommendation to the board to approve. The greenhouse space stone. With the setbacks, presented.
Yeah,
All right, is there a second on that? You,
I'd second it.
okay, now is there any discussion?
Yes.
Any more discussion? Okay, who's it, is all, if all of us in favor say aye?
Aye.
Okay, the motion's,
All right,
okay, we have old business.
oh, and then we have to figure out the fee. And I would like to say,
It's the same zone.
Yeah,
So that's the same under the last motion, or the one before last. Or do you want to recommend, do you want to do a motion for this one too, just to be safe?
I would do it, and that was for the other one, this one,
Is there a motion to approve the fee, a new fee, another fee, an additional fee of $80?
yeah, I'd make a motion to recommend a fee of $80 for the greenhouse permit.
Okay.
Second.
Second. Okay, is there any discussion on that? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Sweet. Okay, so we have, next on the agenda is old business, and that will be a review of the town of Clerk,
I'm gonna say that's not, I'm sorry.
the town,
Get the motion now.
It's
the town clerk.
That's a good plan.
no intern.
It's like for
So it should be down at Crescent.
I love it. I already did that.
Yeah.
So the master plan, we're in our Senate book. And I'm not sure where we left off last time, did I think steps in completing the master plan, or did we go past that? There's a map. I think we do. Where should we start? Does anyone have a suggestion as to where we should start? How about the mission statement?
Yeah, and how do we wanna, do we wanna pick? What are we doing? Are we reading it together?
We're reading it together. Benjamin suggested that we read the whole thing, and if we do have suggestions or conversations upon it,
We're gonna stop as we go.
we can stop as we go.
Okay,
Make notes so we could like update it at some point.
okay,
Yeah, I mean, we would have to do like some kind of, have, like this was written by,
An architect,
an architect, a designer, a planner. So it would be more like notes that we would present later, as opposed to notes that we would we would actually make, you know,
Yeah.
but it's good to see where where we are with it, like the drainage is a big one. And you get a chance, you should pull that out and read all the drainage inside, drainages. After the last storm,
Yeah,
we really saw that we are, I mean, if there was a 100-year storm, not to mention 500-year storm, we would be.
when I lived in Phoenix and it would rain, you'd be at a stoplight in a lower spot in the road and your water went to the door, just below the door handle. Cause they had no drainage, they had no, so there's nothing.
So do we wanna pick like, I do like the suggestion you made earlier for like future meetings coming in, have it like, you know, we could make an agreement, like, we'll read the next 5 pages and we'll come in
Yeah,
and discuss them and maybe make, you know,
well, I think,
I like that.
I think we should still read them when we come back.
Yeah,
But at this point, everybody's read it and maybe written notes down,
yeah,
and so then I think it's a richer conversation.
I think so too. And so do we wanna just tackle, you know, do we wanna just tackle 5 pages and,
Generally, yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah, we just have to figure out where to start.
That's what we did last meeting, right?
Do you remember where we ended off? I should have, it says survey here, so I think we went,
This is the bundle I just dropped on the way here, but I don't think it got mixed up, the pages we were at.
well, we were on page 12,
Okay, so that starts with mission statement, is that right?
yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably a good spot to read and also to understand whether we have exemplified a mission statement. Because if we do, then that's good. If we don't, then we can point out little areas where we can make inroads. Okay, hey, you want to start?
Sure.
All right.
Page 12?
Yeah.
How many should I read?
We'll start with mission statement.
Mission statement, this section identifies some of the important considerations that have formed the basis for discussion of the Crestone Master Plan. These considerations will likely continue to arise as the community tries to apply its overall mission statement to the more concrete process of planning the future of the town. To restate the mission statement adopted by Crestone Planning Commission is as follows. Historic Crestone, Colorado exemplifies small mountain town beauty within a community committed to sustainable living practices and spiritual traditions. The town continues to celebrate its pioneering spirit and unique diversity through contemporary self-reliance. Crestone's goals are to enhance economic viability, environmental preservation, renewable energy use, and social responsibility.
Okay, are we doing all that?
We did go through this, but I have to make sure we did it to
So, yes,
three is
Yeah.
because there's one part in there that is. Like we've been contemplating since we read it the last time.
yeah, yeah. And what is that?
It's the, well, we'll get there and I'll say what, I brought it to Michelle and she keeps reminding me of it, it's called contemporary self-reliance.
Yes,
I thought that is such an interesting way to put it.
I kind of feel that we're right on that point right now. You know, the community garden was the resiliency teams when we started to figure out what self-reliance was, what sustainability was, what resiliency was. Now, who's taking notes? Okay, do you?
I've got a document pulled up,
Okay.
so when, then, yeah, I'll take notes as we go.
All right. But,
When we get to that point,
Okay.
the whole comment is.
All right.
Reiterated.
all right, so are you done, Sean?
No, I could finish reading. The mission statement reveals key considerations that became the themes of many discussions among planning commission members. Which sustainable design practices does Crestone community want to encourage or require? Crestone's mission statement does refer to sustainable design and statement, a community committed to sustainable living practices and spiritual traditions, environmental preservation, renewable energy use, and social responsibility. In fact, a survey of town residents conducted under a previous study identifies environmental concerns and sustainable design as the highest priority amongst town residents. On the other hand, ordinances that specifically define sustainable designs goals are not notably absent in Crestone. The challenge to Crestone is therefore to decide which sustainable practices should be encouraged for or required by the community. Some sustainable design practices may find ready acceptance. For example, protection of endangered species is likely to receive the endorsement of most community members. On the other hand, other sustainable design practices may require more sustainable changes in community members' expectations. Some of these may also require changes in the town regulations. An example is the sustainable design practice of high-density neighborhoods. One theme in the town's process of developing this master plan has been ongoing discussion about which sustainable design practices are important to the Crestone community and which practices are not relevant to the community's goals.
How do we do that? Do we like have a survey or something? You know, like ask everybody in the town residents, what they consider sustainable design is?
Eventually, like.
I think just starting with like maybe kind of like best practices in general when it comes to like land use and like what is sustainability, like as defined by like the industry.
Yeah, really.
And like kind of maybe use, like if you wanted to do something like that, I would kind of outline some of the more common things that communities are doing right now that are already inherently sustainable.
Okay.
And then say, of this list, pick which types of things do you identify with most that's sustainable for you or something like that, so.
We can even put it in the paper.
Yeah, so one of the processes that have probably been improved over the years since this thing came out is the survey. Or survey programs that are available are like way better. And so we could direct people to like a survey. And get results eventually.
Okay, well, where are the surveys?
They make these survey applications.
Survey
Survey monkey or something like that.
Yes.
You can do that with just
You can
Google
do Google
Forms too.
Oh,
We
really?
could, I mean, it sounds like we're in the process of also updating our website and that will drive, I think, a lot more traffic because obviously we'll have all the things there.
Yeah.
And then we could put maybe even a banner or something on there, like, we wanna hear your voices and put it on like where we have the water sewer billing and, you know, the homepage or something like that.
And the planning commission is actually a really good place to interact with the community from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're more than the board and more than staff or anything. It's, I mean, you guys get a lot of interaction, but more like one-on-one where planning commission could be more like broad range thought, or we could take the master plan and dissect it and ask questions.
So you have Survey Monkey, you write up a survey on Survey Monkey?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Same thing with Google Forms. It's basically just a digital survey form. You can put anything from levels 1 to 5. They can click, you know, first, second, third choice. You can do fill in the blank. You can, there's all different kinds of things. So literally, if we just decided what questions and or answer options that we wanted, it takes no time at all to make one.
Okay, so do you know how to do that? All right, so what are the questions we want to get? Why don't we just,
I think my first question would be, what are we planning to do with this survey? How will it be implemented? How will people's voices translate into actionable
oh, yeah.
items? Cause that's also what's gonna drive your participation.
Yeah, definitely, I think the suggestion that in order to create the questions, we need to kind of. Think about like you were pointing out the drainage and like, you know. How does that play in sustainable design practices, you know, bringing in less gravel. You know, less trucks running up and down the road, less fuel, you know, having better design, so we have to put less labor into maintenance. I would consider that as a sustainable design practice, is like, is a drainage plan. But what are the things that are like most affecting our town? That, you know, like water, not even just drainage, but like. There are times when we don't have a lot of water, you know,
Yeah,
how are we designing to
Firewise water.
Firewise, and then, you know, like. Building, we've got the PUD coming in, and I've definitely heard a lot of feedback about the number of trees they took down. People
Yeah.
are pretty upset about it.
You upset?
I was shocked. I was, I mean, they're like right across the street from me.
I seen that, it's just cleared, the whole
Yeah,
thing's
it's
cleared.
gone. I feel like. I felt I felt a little shocked and a little bit like, oh, as somebody who's on the board, I should have asked him
I mean,
questions
yeah, we should,
about that. And so that, but that's like neither here nor there, it's just like personal growth.
The one thing they're saying, just to go back to, just to stay on that point, is that they're talking about coming back and actually,
yeah,
once it's all designed and done, they're gonna come back and plant really nice trees.
So that too, I think is like,
Building that into the plan of like
Yes.
mitigation, like if you are going to build X, Y, Z, like, and then that's all approved and stuff. Do you have a reforestation plan or like a I don't know, some type of way to mitigate like what you just said? I think that that's actually a really great idea. That allows people to, you know, have what they want, but then also make sure they're contributing to the character of the town.
well, I was assuming that they were going to do that.
One thing is,
But without a requirement, you can't
Yeah.
ever expect someone to follow
So
through,
you're saying-
money is money.
Requirements on Cliff.
But having, I mean, what Dana, I think, was recommending was, yeah, is there something that we could add? That just, or I mean, even in the application process, if people are at least thinking about that thing, like, oh, okay, like. At the end of the thing, it says, and how do you plan to mitigate your impact of your surrounding area and that of your neighbors or something, you know?
yeah,
I mean, if you're not gonna require it in the code by always reinforcing the question, like, again, is this a part of like the growth that we're trying to?
the one thing
I
that,
do think that it could be, you know, in my mind, one of the benefits of us going through the master plan is we acquaint ourselves with what. The town has historically wanted, and then after that, we can revise code. You know, we can make recommendations to take things out of the municipal code that are redundant or don't make any sense or not applicable to our community, and we can add things in. And so to the point of like, you know, what's the point of people taking this survey? Like ultimately, the point could be that we're trying to, you know, work on making the municipal code something that is. That works
In
for
alignment.
people and in alignment with the master
the
plan.
one at the beginning point, so we could actually,
Yeah.
make recommendations that go to the board, they go into the minutes. And then the board has to read it and then basically make actions on it, and
I don't think the survey there is the first thing to do then.
Yeah,
I think it's between all of us to outline, a sustainability, plan, a design, where we see the needs first. And then that would go on, a survey. In other words, the questions would probably be best for them to be familiar with some of the situations that exist in Preston already, rather than for future planning, like existing design situations. I think like just roadways and also commercial zones and, water drainage, water movement, that kind of stuff.
there's another, plan I was just reading that came out in 1995 that talks about the bigger areas, the Crestone Baca sub-area plan. And they get into a lot of the stuff about commercial and things like that, and what,
Yeah,
you know. And then there's this corridor that runs from town all the way out, I don't know if it's all the way to Road T, but it's pretty far out, it's called the Scenic Byway.
Hmm.
And there's some people on the county planning commission that wanna eliminate that
why?
to develop it. And it's,
Oh.
and they're trying to claim that it was done illegally, but it's not, it wasn't, it was really built into their plan. And so there's gonna be a little fight, and I talked to Tom McCracken today about it, and he said, yeah, there's gonna be a fight coming up soon.
So who wants to develop it, like develop?
Lots of people who own land over there,
All of T, all the way.
it goes from, yeah, it's like, so they created like a it's called a scenic corridor.
Yeah.
That runs on both sides, they're already trying to put a trail in there, which would probably be good. so that-
Biking trail or something.
A biking trail.
Yeah.
And, but there's a group of people that wanna take that out so that there's no buffer anymore and they can develop
Oh.
that whole section of land. A lot of it's Steve McDowell's land,
Ah.
and, cause his land's kinda like useless, a lot of, he has 950 acres there. And so a lot of his land is useless, anyway, something to keep in mind from this, we have this small picture of our town, but then there's like these. It keeps radiating out, and we're trying to get this thing called, what is it? Thing that we're working on with the lawyers, an IGA, it's a 3 mile agreement, that basically anything that comes up within 3 miles. Has to be told to the town, and we have some kind of say, whether we have like a yes or no, we don't have that, but we have at least some awareness of what's going on. So we're trying to get that approved by the county, so that will give us one layer of protection. We gotta keep thinking in terms of protection from this kind of outside
Exactly.
in.
Yeah,
You know, of course, we're from the inside out, so it's just kind of a combination of the two simultaneously. Inside out being, zoning and our zoning and,
The growth we plan
The growth
to
we
experience here.
like you said, with the PUD, and one thing that Dennis really wants to do is eliminate PUD to begin with, and then they have to go through a bigger process, but we have to decide whether we want, because it is in the zoning. You know, we'll start with us, we should review PUDs and say, should we just take them out so nobody can do them again? Cause he has a reasoning for it, and he should give it to us to look at.
yes,
So PUDs start with us. And you know, the PUD, you know, it's a plan unit development.
yeah,
That's what they're doing up there, that,
yeah.
and there was a lot of weird stuff that went on with that. I don't know why, but it just kind of got kept shoved down our throats,
What?
that
See?
senior project. Nobody was there for that except for me, and it was like, they were just pressuring us
They
from
were.
all angles.
Yeah, I think,
You remember that?
sure, but
It's
it's
a living wisdom.
it's been, what, 15 years?
No, I think it's like 7 years or something, but.
Is that Ralph's?
No, it's on, Robert Filio's old land up on the north, southeast corner of town. Right across from
Yeah,
Dana.
I know that, but is Living Wisdom Ralph's? Like organization? Oh,
No, it's, the organization's called CPCH. And, you know, what's kind of funny is Akia.
It's cold.
She was the one that put in that PUD, almost as if she was planning on doing something later. So it's kind of interesting that she would, you know,
She laid the groundwork.
lay the groundwork
Later
for
on.
some
Either
project.
that or she recognized it later as being something she had already started.
Yeah, well, she knew every single thing, and
Well-
we're still dealing with it.
She's smart.
Did you still
She's
do
smart.
Yeah.
Really.
So protection of endangered species, that's another one. So sustainable design. And then I think protection of endangered species like trees and plants and animals, I think we're pretty good at that, don't we? We would protect our deer. Remember that time that the woman was building that one building next to the free box? And everybody got down on her because she cut down too many trees. I mean, those are good examples, but I wanna know, do we have more?
Well, there's something with the drainage that could happen that's not so good, but, you know, I was just reading about that where. If you have a big flood and it comes down, it actually takes a lot of the debris
Yeah,
as well as all the oils and everything into the creek.
yeah,
And down on the far end of that creek, they do have endangered fish that
yeah.
they're preserving at the far end of the. North Preston where it goes out onto the refuge.
The cutthroat trout
So
living there.
thinking in terms of a way to
Okay,
catch that.
so again, swale
Or
design,
swale.
so that as it moves down, it gets caught into the little rivers, empty byways that will collect the water.
Yeah,
Okay, let's put that down, swale design.
Swales are, I mean, they're like one of the best
Yeah,
methods, because you're basically taking the soil that has no absorbent quality because it has mica in it. And the mica makes this kind of like when it gets wet, it makes like a sheet that doesn't allow it to
a
absorb.
clay
it.
layer, yeah.
So it never really like, just kind of skims across
Right.
all this, if it's just sand. And then swale is like a mix of a bunch of different things that actually creates like a sponge.
yeah,
So the more idea that we get with swaling, that, you know, cause then you're just catching all the way.
Yeah.
but to your point too, with like, you know, how the water's gonna gather toxins as it's moving down, you could plant. The berms with, you know, like, with phytoremediated plants, like sunflowers and whatnot, that'll kind of like help draw some of the heavy metals and stuff out.
What is that, design that's, I think came out of the University of Michigan, but it's a, 5 ponds.
Hmm.
And as they move, the water drains, moving through them, it gets purified
Hmm.
by plants
Mm-hmm.
that break down the
You're
oils.
thinking of the, constructed wetland?
I can't really remember, I just heard it last night, night before, 2 nights ago. that they wanna use it somewhere, but that would be a long, you know, an area, a pretty long area for like 5 ponds, but I mean, the process of lowering the land so that it does collect.
Yeah,
But one thing it again said in this report, and it's tricky, but the town actually purchases strategic pieces.
Yeah,
There's one right over here. Right, like when you're going down, Galena, across the street from the Eagle Building,
The empty field
the
there?
empty field.
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
that's a very
that is-
strategic flood area.
okay, that's our wetland, it's
Yeah.
considered it's a sponge, and it's pulling, yeah, it's real low.
But
Okay,
if you, again, you would maybe put swales or some kind of stopping system.
well, that's a stopping system
Direct it.
right there,
It is, but it also still is gonna go across that,
cause even across the road, that land, Lily's land is the same,
right,
just right across the street. So those are good catch spots.
but they're not owned by the town, they're.
No, well, do they have to be?
Well, they were just saying you could actually increase the capacity if the town owned it.
Okay,
I'm not saying that, you know, again, it's
yeah,
not like you can
I
make
think,
somebody sell, but.
It's got the-
right, but maybe we could, in the future, if we like, if we come up with a good design, we could potentially, you know, just reach out to folks and be like, hey, this is what we're thinking.
yeah,
Maybe, have you ever experienced really bad flooding in your yard? Like, if we put in, you know, this.
okay,
swale here-
on a survey, huh?
Yeah,
That's on a
Not to
survey,
mention that also people do donate land to the town.
yeah,
They see the need for,
Right.
we've had pieces donated to us a bunch.
the
yeah,
thing is that, this one over here is owned by Elaine, right?
I
The
don't
one,
know.
I think it's across, but the one on the other side owned by Lily, she donated that to us to grow a greenhouse. So,
Oh.
yeah, I mean, I'm not in charge of it, because I didn't think it was a good spot for a greenhouse,
Oh,
because it's a wetland.
oh,
But I mean, it's still that Lily is willing.
Hmm.
Yeah,
she didn't donate to the town, but she donated to a group or.
yeah, she told me if we wanted to put a greenhouse out there, we could. That she's not using it, it's really not good for anything, but it's too wet,
yeah.
you know, we.
But that would be an ideal place for whales.
Yeah, that would be a
Yeah.
good place for water catchment.
Mhm.
Then you have to look at a map and figure out, okay, where is the high point and where is it moving? You never watched that video, but
I did watch, it.
okay, so he shows you,
Yeah,
he's out to draw on something that shows how to catch the water.
it was fire mitigation through permaculture. Well, I have the video still.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I thought when you said that. I was like, I've seen that in a permaculture book.
Yeah.
And you see that a lot with like the off-grid houses where they'll treat their own like wastewater that way through their own garden. And I was like, okay, so yeah, I haven't seen one on like
I
a
can
large
send it.
scale like that,
oh
but.
yeah, well, I forget his name, Matt something, and he's a permaculture teacher at the University of Oregon.
There you go.
And he's done a million of these videos
Yeah.
where he actually illustrates while he's talking, he's like behind a sheet of glass.
Mhm.
And he does these illustrations, so when you're finished, you've got a whole picture of what he's telling you.
Yeah.
And he's very, very knowledgeable. Anyway, most of his videos we should watch.
Here, I'll send that one to.
Nathan had like a portable setup showing that, like with wastewater and growing
Yeah.
stuff and how it filters through different layers. Yeah, at the energy fair, maybe like 8, 9 years ago.
I can send it to you.
Yeah, I'm kind of coming up to speed here, and it sounds like one of the urgent priorities that you guys have defined is drainage.
Yeah,
So I guess what I'm hearing is that we don't have capacity for large volume drainage in this town,
Mhm.
and we need to remedy that.
yeah,
That's a high priority right now.
yeah, and it's like when it does rain heavily, which is in the summer, it floods and it burns debris across the roads and I have galleys and stuff. So, and because we're on a mountain.
There's that
Because some-
whole,
Yeah.
with me, yeah.
I'll send it and you can pass it on to everybody.
I think on this subject too, something that all of us can do is, you know, is like keep thinking about these subjects and come to the next meeting with our thoughts about like what sustainable design practices looks like, and I like the idea of researching into what the industry is defining
Already.
already.
Well, because you also don't want any write-in candidates for the situation, right? Because everyone's got their own ideas of what is sustainable, but you wanna work off of what people are already doing, you're not reinventing the wheel, and it's already been decided as an industry standard, it is sustainable.
Yeah, I found that when we had our community meetings, we had Nathan wrote up the survey and asked anybody what they wanted to do. Did they want a youth program? Did they want community building? Did they want the 5 or 6 different suggestions? And when he passed them around to people, they all said, this is bullshit.
Hmm.
This is scattering the
Yeah,
potential, you know, let's all just focus on one thing.
right,
And so that, you're right, it's probably focusing on what we need, we know we need here.
right,
And, yeah, drainage is one, I would say, redesign of the commercial areas.
So I sent her also the drainage report that was from Davies, it was 2005 drainage report.
We can send that to me too.
So it's going to Aid and she'll send it out to
Oh.
us. But there's a bunch of these kind of like reports that have already came out, not to mention the master plan, but there's this one, the sub area. I'll send that one, and then you guys can read it over on your own.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
But the idea, I mean, like, there's been a lot of already talk about, you know, we basically have 2 big drainages coming in. And
Right.
one could be mitigated through what's called a floodgate up at North Crestone. If it was a modified
That's
floodgate that just opened and sent the water out
yeah,
at the right place, at the right time with engineered standards, it would save our town from North Crestone flooding.
yeah,
The other one is more complex, which is Burnt Gulch.
right.
Because what comes off Burnt Gulch is really narrow up there,
Mhm.
so you get these giant storms that get, if they go right to there, then when it comes down, it actually comes out that funnel, it comes out right at the tip and then it does this fanning. So you'll get like a bunch of flooding in all different directions, you know, like fingers.
Yeah,
Can you see
And,
that on the map?
yeah, totally.
Wow,
Oh, yeah,
that's-
totally.
I was up
Yeah.
there in the rainstorm for search and rescue one time, and when I seen it, just like.
It does, it's called an alloidal fan,
Yeah.
and it's, and
Comes
that means
fast.
more, comes fast, and it comes like, you know, places that you don't want, like, the reason why they built this area right here with these high walls was for flooding,
Yeah,
Oh,
Uh-huh.
goodness, okay. Now I
because it
know.
comes
I
off,
thought seeing it get, yeah, kind of everything.
it's
like that.
crazy, and so, and then also there was, phase 1, which was, streetscapes, and there was phase 2. I have copies of those plans, and then there's supposed to be a phase 3 that never got finished. And that is to do all this catchment down below and catch it before it goes into North Preston. But that's like the hardest and most, you know, advanced.
You have a plan for phase?
I have phase 2, I don't have phase 3.
Phase
They
3
didn't
is not-
plan it, they
It's
just,
not, that, so that's exactly why we're starting here.
phase 3.
So, I mean, really, we should figure out, and I have no idea how to do this, but we should figure out who can design
yes,
for that, and we should put it in our like vision. To like have North Crestone, be re-engineered,
That's environmental.
and that's on the town, it's like right in between everybody, but it's mainly on the Forest Service land. And it's probably like what is it, the Army Corps of Engineers?
Yeah,
They actually do that kind of thing
Mhm.
for the feds, but then maybe we figure out a way to contribute. We were working on it with Leslie, but.
There's gotta be some
They
like
put
grant
dams
money
in.
or something.
they
I'm
put
sure.
dams in.
Yeah,
They're the one that dammed up the whole.
And lakes, they do a lot of that.
yeah, I mean, it would be really good if we could figure out a way to get a hold of them.
And identify the spots, the exact spots laid out on the map, so we can know the flow.
Yes, I mean, Burnt Gulch, we were offered all the water rights coming off of Burnt Gulch at one point from Stephen Elaine for $200,000, but then, you know, and
I
then
thought
we,
you did give that. didn't you?
no, we never bought it.
You never wanted.
It was, I mean, the water guy came, and he said, you guys are already getting all that water. Cause it's all soaking into the ground, and then when all the wells and everything's already in there. But he said something like, don't buy the cow if you're already getting the milk.
yeah,
That was his take on it. But as far as flooding, it could be really almost an important thing, so maybe there's, because then we could really redirect it, and we don't have to worry so much about messing with the flow, cause I know Steve McDowell, who messed with the flow, I mean. Fire department learned the hard way, and now there was a huge controversy over there, and they're hating on each other. Because of that thing, Sorry, I'm just trying to give you guys history, but.
Oh, yeah.
No, it's good, I have another meeting at 6:30, and so I'm really enjoying the conversation we're having too.
Yeah,
I'll send you.
okay.
Yeah, I think helpful, yeah, thank you.
Requirements and regulations through encouragement or through individual self-reliance, ha. Okay, well, it looks like, are we going on any farther, are we going to take what we have already and read? At home? We had just one, you wanna finish that? Sure. Okay.
How will the Crestone community achieve its goals? Through requirement and regulation, through encouragement, or through individual self-reliance? The Crestone mission statement includes the following language: the town continues to celebrate its pioneering spirit and unique diversity through contemporary self-reliance. This part of the mission statement reflects another theme of consideration that continued throughout the planning process. Community members' desires to balance the mission statement's goals of contemporary self-reliance while simultaneously supporting the mission statement goal of social responsibility.
Is this kind of where you were getting at, Benji?
I'm just trying to send it so before I forget. You mind again? So the contemporary self-reliance, and there's the next paragraph on there that basically states like that. We're like, if you have all these regulations set up, are you enforcing? Or are you encouraging, or are you allowing people to follow it based on intuition, which would probably be the most, the best.
Artists are the best,
Huh?
artists are the best,
Exactly, but I mean, it's like as our town's changing, like,
yeah.
more people are coming here that, have a different. So then,
Yeah.
so then there's like this balance between. Relying on them to be self-reliant. And then, or like, for instance with Lars, I mean, that was a whole, and I wanna say, it was a mess because he. Wanted to take from the town and we had to kind of put up a real fight based on what do you call it,
Your regulation,
the Board of Adjustment, it was a big fight and it turned into a mess because. He wanted a setback, he was claiming, that he couldn't build with the setbacks that were there. But he did have enough room, but yet it was kind of like he wouldn't change his design, so. In the Board of Adjustment, if you create your own problem, you don't get the variance. The Board of Adjustment starts off with a no all the time, like that's the place where it's supposed to start. And then you kind of have to convince a yes, so he wasn't able to convince them, but he was so mad because he really wanted to cut into the setback. And point being, rather than being self-reliant and actually creating like a design that actually worked for the land. He wanted what he wanted and he wasn't willing to, adjust, and it turned into a fight. So we had to use our enforcement to override it. Which was,
Yeah, contemporary self-reliance is, like. I don't really know what that means. I think of a lot of things when I hear it, but I don't think I know exactly what it means, and it feels like a very personal statement anyway. Like it's gonna mean different things for different people.
Well, would it mean something like having your own water catchment and your own garden and your own
Right,
solar?
right.
But then it says contemporary, so then they're saying, well, maybe you should be tied at least to the grid just in case, but maybe you can catch water, but only this much.
Yeah,
You know?
that's
But I think, yeah, you're speaking to like that being like that term in and of itself being kind of problematic because of it's applied differently to each person.
Yeah, so we have programs that encourage people to get solar. And encourage people to regrow their food or put it in a greenhouse. Would that be beneficial to the town? The community?
Yeah, and like those things that you named feel like sustainable design practices, like people producing their own power. Having the ability to grow at least some of their own food,
Yeah.
like those things. But, there's also like. Um. Hospitals.
Oh.
You know, is the one thing that I think about, is like, there's not a hospital anywhere nearby.
Yeah.
I don't think people would like it if there was a hospital built,
No, but a local
You know?
clinic might work.
but a local clinic might work, yeah.
There's something smaller but suitable to this town, this is 150 people, yeah.
But then I've also heard some people talk about how you know, straight up say, I'm glad that we don't have health systems here because it keeps people out. It keeps less people, like there's
They
people
want
who will not move to a town that doesn't have that kind
certain
of
amenities.
health system, yeah, yeah.
Oh, I see, yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah, if we had all that, nobody would wanna live here.
Right, exactly.
Or, no, since
The
we don't
people that
have-
value
we
that
don't know.
most are not going to wanna live here. I think I tend to be more of a person who's like, you know, big someone with a carrot, you know, like. Maybe not codes that say, you know, it has to be brown and Adobe only construction
Yeah.
and sourced from a local farm or something.
Yeah.
Instead of having a code like that, you could do certain things, like whether that's tax breaks or, I don't know, like, I think. I think when I think about these kinds of things, I'm thinking more of like, okay, like how can we shape the type of things that come into this town and best support the things we want. So not in the terms of what we do not want, because everyone's gonna come up with something that we don't want every now and then. But how can we create systems that support people to build the things that we do want?
Well, I know the
Or,
Rockland
you know.
started with hippies, you know, who
Yeah.
built to their own design. And then the POA started
I
running
know.
everything, so, you know, they couldn't do anything, and then the kind of people that moved in and bought land were more concerned about the value of their land and didn't want the hippies living next door.
Exactly.
So it evolved,
Mhm.
but I think this town has evolved in the opposite direction, I think the people that have moved here are more open to. Contemporary and ecological self-reliance, so there's a possibility that eventually. We will support each other in it, I don't know, I mean, I kind of feel like it's evolved from when I came here and that nobody in Crescent wanted anything. They didn't want music, they didn't want change, they didn't want
Paved roads.
sidewalks. Huh?
No paved
I
road.
think-
Yeah, so I mean, it's evolved, I think.
I think that like there is like a new, like, and I would say I'm actually a part of that new,
Yeah.
the next. You know, cohort of folks
Genre.
coming into Crestone, if you
Yeah.
will, and it was, for me personally, it was ushered in by the development on Moffett. And this is a much better housing community in general, all of those things that brought me here. But with that, I think that I speak for, I know a contingency of folks that are around my age that are looking for certain
Exactly,
amenities such as, you know, not necessarily nightlife, but you know, a lively scene on a Friday or Saturday night in the summer to have live music or, you know, beers, things like that. I think, there is still obviously a large contingent, and I think people that move out here, myself included, at least, even though I was here for development initially, I like this community, wanna maintain the character of this community and respect the people that found it and wanna see, you know, this community stay with a lot of its historical, you know,
yeah, exactly.
characteristics, but at the same time, I don't know, I think that it's something to consider, and that came up earlier this spring was about, you know, the whole road going into the northern side of Sand Dunes National Park. I mean, the
Yeah,
national parks, they create a, you know, a large source for economic development and stuff, and for the Airbnbs here and the people that are coming into this town, I think those are also important things to be thinking about and what drives business, if you will. So
that's.
I
the
think
word.
that there's like a marriage that there's maybe the old guard and then like some of the newer folks and what they wanna see maybe in this town and kind of really getting a beat on that. Like, I think one of the things that you were talking about earlier with the surveys is like, you know, if you were to just put out this statement and just try to get people during 4th of July or the energy fair or something like that later this year and say, this is our statement and this is the last time we've done a plan. Based on your, you know, the way that you assess this town, what are we doing well on this statement? And what is our priority according to you? And you can list in there like information like, we're talking about drainage because if there is a 500-year flood, this is the impact, you know, if people were aware of the issues and why we're looking at certain aspects of the plan. And then saying, what are we doing well and what are the priorities for you? Cause I mean, like right here, it sounds like you guys are talking about drainage. I think as a property owner here in town, yes, I
Yeah.
care about drainage.
Yeah,
Residents and renters might not give a crap
No.
about drainage.
Especially if you're exempt from flood insurance.
yeah.
Yeah, there's that.
So what we could do is ask Nick if he could have a panel discussion on this.
Well, you wanna think about your audience and
For-
are people interested in certain things, right?
They just sit and listen,
Right?
Well, the other thing is, you know,
and then they're inspired.
it came up
Then they care.
that we were gonna rewrite our mission statement in general.
Mm.
And again, we're reading it, and we're going through it, and how, you know, if we were to look at the mission statement, because the mission statement is like, kind of, you know, it's maybe like something that you strive for to strive, like, all things should go that way, but maybe we're misdirected, like, how do we just change a few words to make it so that it's like, more attainable, number one, or.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like the mission statement is sort of like the guiding principle, like when we make decisions, we make them based off of this guiding principle, and. I mean, contemporary self-reliance sounds really good, but it also like, I see how it easily butts heads with certain aspects of social responsibility and economic development. And so like how, yeah, like how are those things interrelating with one another?
And then, and encapsulated in our code, does it,
Yeah.
is it, the code comes from these ideas, right? Or it should, one
I
would
do
say.
think one thing you said that sparked an idea was about, you know, you were like, we can't put in our code, like, you have to get everything from, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but like, it could be, you know, like, one thing that's come up at the county level was when the state was trying to get the whole county to adopt building codes. And so, and I think that's gonna be something that we are gonna fight against for many years to come, like, every time there's a new building code adopted. But we could, you know, and I think this is kind of a legal question too, but how could we use our code to maintain options for people? How can we use our code to maintain the option to buy local lumber rather than having to buy dressed lumber from?
Buy local, that's a good.
Well, one thing is, you know, like Adam's doing up there, he had to get a conditional use to build a little micro factory or whatever you wanna call it. But in actuality, you know, if we look at like cottage industry or value added products. And what it takes to create like a little cottage industry, I mean, we could figure out a way to.
Self-reliance.
Self-reliance, pioneering spirit.
Yeah, and how do we support people and,
Yeah, how do you
And
support
Like
God?
again, it's showing because nobody really wants a factory next to them.
right,
But if you have a way that people can like, you know,
It would have limitations.
so depending on the equipment they use and things like that, I mean. I started here as like a little tea merchant and making meditation cushions, and I had a little sewing factory, much like this.
Hello?
Is this 165?
No.
No,
Sorry.
sorry to interrupt.
I think it's the
Oh, okay, guys, are we good to go? We have,
yeah, I should probably leave in the next like 10 minutes.
Okay, so
My
we'll-
other meeting's just down the street, but,
okay,
and I don't
so,
wanna rush this, I think we're having a really good discussion and also encourage people to keep having it while I'm not here. If
well, no,
not-
I think we will begin to adjourn at 6:25, 6:25.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So,
But yeah, I mean, and I don't know exactly how that works, but somehow we could kind of. I mean, you gotta create some kind of regulations in there because, for instance, like with Adam, you know, he's got a lot of space, but if say, like you were building or doing some factory style cottage industry work and you had noise and the noise was traveling uphill, you might disturb your neighbors. So people don't necessarily want that, but then, you know, there's just,
you might have to do feasibility studies.
yeah.
But I think supporting cottage industry or welcoming people that wanna come and, because I think we need more commerce here. We
Yeah.
definitely need
I
more.
mean, how cool would it be if, you know, 50% of our residents here had a little like. cottage industry going, and we had,
I think they might.
well,
I think there might be a little bit.
about 50%,
It probably,
maybe like
yeah.
15% or.
But if it's
But
something
all of
that
those
is,
people either rely, like, you gotta think about like, okay, are we supporting that for like mail shipment? Because again, maybe you guys don't wanna be supporting tourism. Foot traffic or traffic in general, it just depends right on the community and what they value. I mean, these are things that I think we need to add, like.
I think
Yeah.
so, and I think it can grow to a point where all of a sudden we'll beat ourselves up because we've encouraged tourism and now it's so crowded.
You could also create something where you are gathering money from outside and bringing it here and
Yeah,
sharing it, you know, and trading amongst
that's
yourselves.
important, and bringing in commerce and encouraging people to develop businesses. And also, tourists that visit us have something to come to.
Mhm.
I know right now I see people from out of town walking their dogs.
Mhm.
Yeah, neighbors, it's all looking around.
So that's there too.
And
Yeah, you know,
even, you know, you guys know Peter May, right?
Yeah.
So he makes these amazing oils, he can't even keep up with the demand, you know, like. He tends to use those oils and then create products with those oils. But I mean, we have so much trimming going on here as far as the tree trimming and stuff like that. If we had a way of making essential oils out of that, you know. Yeah, I mean, you could have 6 oil companies and they'd all do okay.
I mean, I think that most of the people I know who are having kind of like cottage industry at-home businesses where they're like mailing their stuff out are like just
Artists.
overwhelmed with. I mean, like, I know Christy and Jacob, their salve company is just insane, she's like,
Can't keep-
yeah, she's like struggles to keep up and wants to expand and like.
Hmm.
You know, Adam's same way, like, he just can't, you know, so I think that those,
yeah.
and that this area really does like. Support that kind of like entrepreneurial spirit and that could, which I think is the contemporary self-reliance, but like, what can we do? To nurture that for people or create systems or whatever, I don't know if we can, except by being like. Supportive of it,
But also have a limit, because I know when I lived in Arkansas, we had a population limit. Once it reached that population, you had to build another.
yeah,
So there could be that we do have, let's say, within a square mile, or you know, we have
density.
5 industries or something, you know, some.
So then I think that you see in like large cities, obviously, and I'm not saying this for here, but maybe there's different small things that could be identified to serve as these like little hubs maybe, but you see a lot of like large cities trying to support small business by doing like unit and pop-up types of shops. So like maybe there's, for example, in a large city, there's oftentimes like factories that have gone under and stuff over the years and they'll just redo the inside. Make small stalls basically, and then they rent them out on a monthly, or so that startup businesses can get going, lower overhead. And also, we'll do like trades, like maybe it's a kitchen, sometimes they'll do like kitchens where it'll change, you know, from this date to this date, it's this kind of business. And then on Saturdays and Sundays, kind of like what T Road's been doing to some degree, but more structured perhaps, but I'm not saying that that's here, but I mean, like, maybe if we had, like, if people were donating certain bits of land and we had like small housing tracts or something where like, you know. I don't know, I think about like, have y'all heard of this term called Serenity? It's a designed and planned community from the ground up, it's right outside of Atlanta, and they were kind of like a poster child community, I guess, for a sustainable small town development. So it's like they have mixed use in a lot of the areas, so they might have like one house that looks like this, but it's got 6 businesses inside of it.
Not doing it to the house, that's right next to.
They're
the
doing it in
box.
Buena Vista in South Maine.
Yeah.
So you see these kinds of things, and I feel like those kinds of stuff, that kind of plan is like good for this kind of community that doesn't want obviously to see a strip mall ever take
Well,
hold.
that building too, I think, has the potential for it, because it has that alleyway in the center, and all the little shops on either side of it, there's something like that.
Yeah.
It's hotel, not hotel,
It was a hotel.
I mean, I think in our town too, like one thing. I used to organize in a similar like end of the road town. Down in Texas, Terlingua, if you've never been, you should go.
That is.
Are you,
I agree with Charlie, but not like that, but yeah,
Um,
it's so cute.
But yeah, into the ghost town and we would organize, you know, nighttime art markets when. Spring break in Texas is in March, and so. Cherlingwood would get flooded with people, kind of like we do on a seasonal basis, and we would take opportunity of that. Of that time, of that busy time, to have markets on, you know, there, we were doing it like 3 times a week, cause it was busy enough for. To keep it, cause new people are coming in all the time, and it was busy enough to get the artists paid, and it was worth their time.
Yeah.
And everybody loved it, because it's like in a town kind of like ours, where it can be hard to like be a maker and. You know, and again, we're like having to have the balance between social responsibility with the different types of people we have in our community, but. I think it could be cool, like you're saying, I mean, we have the Saturday market.
Yeah,
But maybe it's even like an advertising
yeah,
campaign that needs to happen, so that. People who are coming from out of town really know that like, oh yeah, I can go to the center, maybe there's 2 markets or.
I think we have to
Whatever.
encourage everybody to come to their own Saturday market.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think I was saying-
craftsmen.
I haven't been,
I was actually, I was one of the,
Saturday market.
you have never been there?
No, but the last time I went was like a month ago, Saturday market.
You see, I'm at the community garden, but I always try to stop by, and sometimes we go there and lay our plants out, and just try to either give them away or sell them, just to. Communicate, to connect with people and to share the wealth of the garden, but.
So the bar, when it before it was T Road, was for sale for $255,000. When I was here, before we had Elephant Cloud and everything, $255,000, they had 4 commercial lots, including all the ones that Electrum owns,
with the like the upstairs and everything.
everything, it was 255. They had the upstairs was all open, so you could see up around the edge. And one of and I almost bought it, and I wish I would have kind of. But one of the ideas was to break off exactly like that, where you rent out small spaces.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole thing for small businesses, and you have one big business that kind of holds it like a cafe type thing. And everybody rents you could rent by the day, you could rent by the month, you could rent by the week. And it was just like sectioned off, so you had like astrologers or, tarot readers upstairs. They had their own spots, and then downstairs you could have, bigger spaces for other. It was such a cool idea, I really wanted to do it. Then Electrum came in behind me and bought it.
Was it the game room upstairs, like pool table?
Yeah, the apartment that was on the far north side, where there's one big apartment up there with like bathroom that has like a urinal and stuff. That was the game room. Had pool tables, and then they had a shuffleboard. It was amazing, and nobody could really figure out, and but anyway, something like that where you actually have like big space.
Yeah.
And kind of like support small local bit, I mean, I could see tours going in there and. If you had like jellies, jams.
I think like something that's like really important, and I think about this a lot when we talk about supporting businesses. I think I'm very like business supporting kind of
Yeah.
person, and because, people my age still have to make money in this town or in this area. But one of the things that I think is a strong component for like Saturday markets, things like that, is that I think other towns find success in is sponsoring like live music.
Yes.
Because I will say, even for myself, that if there's live music at a venue, I don't know if I'm gonna spend money at all the little shops, but I'll definitely go and look. And if I'm looking, then they got me my foot in the door, and then it's just to the business to make the sale.
Well, we used
So
to
it's like,
have that, when the Saturday market was on the other side of the park,
Hmm.
we had musicians playing there.
Yeah.
I think that's.
So I think
it
that
was
that's
so
like a
fun.
key to like having a successful market, and I think that really comes before we talk about brick and mortar options and stuff, is like, how can we
What
create a
cool
culture here
event.
that.
One cool event that everybody wants to come to, and it's exciting, and it evolves all the time.
And I think with that too, then we might actually pull people from the valley at
That's what
large.
you have to do, because.
Kind of like, have you guys ever gone to the Thursday Mercado down in Del Norte.
I haven't done anything.
It's
I gotta do that.
sick, it's so fun, they've got live music, I mean, they're right there next to the river, yeah, it's like. They, you know, and they're pulling in folks from all around the valley who are driving out there to come and vend, and it's super fun, like, you know, and they have it in the evening, so it's like cooled off and.
What time is it?
What
They don't
brings you
have
there, what are the things like, yeah, what are the things that bring you to things like
We
that?
got a whole month of waiting around to see us.
Right, but you know, just like, but I think that the music is, I think it's spot on, that it's a huge proportion of like getting people. And like getting, you know, it's hard to get me off of my projects, like, I'm not kidding, like, it's like, I'm. Like between doing this stuff, working and like building my own house, it's difficult to get me to go to something.
Yeah,
And like, music might actually get me to like come and crawl out of my hole and.
okay, now, we could have sprayed the park a lot earlier so that it was the haven. It was the place to go because there were no mosquitoes, so.
It's getting
It
better.
was not, they never
It's
go away
getting
though,
better.
they never go away though.
Yeah,
Completely,
no.
never.
Huh? It take like, I guess like 10% of them, maybe 20-30%,
Yeah.
50%, but it's still too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that could be the spot that people wanna gather, because we're, like, right now, I can't work in our garden, because.
Or you could say like charter school at night and create like a,
Like in the gym or something, you definitely need like active members that wanna see these things through too, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah.
every single one of these is gonna require like a lot of like administrative, like
Coordination.
oversight and like
Right.
fees and money and. But I think also like something, like what are the resources that our town has that these other towns do not have? We have our dark sky, like maybe it looks like every month we have an astronomer
Oh
talk,
my
or
God, that's.
or we invite like a ranger from Great Sand Dunes to talk about our local ecology and does like a full moon hike here, or. You know, I don't know what it looks like, but I think that our businesses that are already existing here could be
Yeah,
talked up more about
encourage.
having foot traffic.
Yeah,
And by us promoting practices with the current businesses that are already there to say like, hey, can you like obviously stay open on Saturdays or Sundays? You know, but is there an incentive we can draw for people to be open on those days?
yes, okay, now, we gotta stop, it's
Yeah.
6:25.
Okay,
You already thought
No.
this past year, time,
I'll make a
I
motion to adjourn.
second,
okay? Our meeting is adjourned.
No.
Oh, wait, is there any discussion? Everybody in favor?
Aye.
It's either one or three.
Think of Robert Rule of Order in your book.
Really
I
good
got
conversation.
my Robert's Rules of Order. No, I couldn't find it,
This is my favorite.
but it's just, it's.
My favorite committee.
are you on like every committee?
No, I would, no. I will not.
I looked it up.
Good job, guys, that was fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Have a good night.
What I got on the way here, I
I had this.
Oh,
God. So I was on.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was exactly walking into, but it does sound like y'all already looked at reading our now and exciting for planning. Or at least people that are in the thing.
Abandoned everything.
Yeah.
I feel like
I just flicked it off.
getting in there and really.
Once I dropped it, I looked at it, I kind of. flipped it.
Yeah.
We'll start building on change. Yeah,
I've been feeling like, oh, yeah, fuck in my head.
Bring it attention, what is that?
You're gonna make a recommendation to the board, right?
Yeah, it's okay.
Probably took me a while.
Keep it a girl away.
What are they doing with these? You want them back so that you can reuse them? Or the CH stuff?
No.
Oh,
Well, the CH stuff?
sorry, not that, the Crestone.
The charter school,
No, that was just for you to look at, if you don't want it, I'll
Okay.
burn it.
I mean, I have enough note paper at home.
I like saving it, I stick it in my file. I'm
Yeah,
gonna need a couple more file things.
I know. Hey, I'll take it back. I'll take it back. I'll take it back. Not that I will ever look at it for a while, but. Yeah, I could add a year yet, see.